I just finished my round and I wanted to bring you guys around a little practice session with me. Practice that we're going to do is putting, and it's going to be a practice to consistently roll the ball and start it on line. So I don't know what you would call it, maybe a personality trait or a skill or a value. I've always believed that one of my strong suits in life is that I am willing to work hard. If I want something, I'll work hard for it. I'm determined, I'll do whatever it takes to get there. And I've always said, like, if I don't achieve something or if I don't succeed at something, it's fine, as long as I know that I've given it 110%. Some things just aren't meant to happen. And I've always said that, you know, I believe that God will give you what you deserve, but I also believe that nothing that you deserve comes without working hard. So it's always been like my philosophy in life that, you know, you have to work hard for what you want. So I think it shows in my practice as well. I've always been, I started golf a little bit later than everybody else. Most people, you know, start golf at like 3-4 years old nowadays, the ones that are competing with me. I started when I was 12, so I always felt like, not that I have to play catch up, but I feel like people were at a different level when I started already, so I felt like I needed to work harder than everyone else. It's also part of my personality that I've always worked hard. I've worked hard for what I want, so I think I've translated that into the way I practice golf. You know, I always think that if I'm practicing 8 hours today, somebody else out there is going to be practicing 9 hours. So I've always wanted to do the most, if that makes sense. And I don't know if you guys know, but playing golf, nothing's ever going to be perfect, and there is such a thing as over practicing. Sometimes the more you practice, things that weren't even a problem become a problem. So yeah, there is a bad thing, there is a bad side to over practicing, and I think that's one of the things that I've had to learn, you know, not to be so hard on myself and just be like, I want to practice 8 hours today because I know somebody else is going to be practicing 9 hours. I might just practice for 4 hours, but it's much better to have a good 4-hour practice than an 8-hour practice where, yes, I might have planned it out, it might be a well-detailed practice, but you know, if it's just a day where I'm not feeling good, practicing for 8 hours is not going to be beneficial to me as well, because you know, you're just going to be tired, you're going to get tired, and when you get tired, you start bringing back your habits and things like that. And I think that's one of the problems as well. Like, I think I do sometimes over practice without the right intentions, so that's one of the things that I want to change. I want to start practicing with more intention. You know, I see the girls on the LPGA, I think one of the things that they know is they have a plan, they know exactly what they need to do, they go out there and do what they need to do, and then they leave. They don't need to, sometimes it's my own pressure of like, oh my god, you only practice for 1 hour today, that's not good enough, because yeah, you might, you know, somebody else is practicing more than you are. So I think it's important to not compare myself to everybody else. Everybody needs different things. Yeah, so I think this is not to say that you don't need hours of practicing, because I definitely do believe that. But you know, for instance, if you only practice for 1 hour a day, and even though it's really good quality practice, somebody else is having good quality practice for 2 hours, and that person is probably going to still do better than you. So I think, I'm not saying that you don't need the quality and the quantity. Like, you definitely need quantity, but I think it also depends on the day. You know, you need to adjust day by day. It's not something that you need to be so strict about. There is no real formula to success with golf. Yeah, you just need to make sure you do your best. I think you need to practice with intention, and that is one of the things that I'm going to start doing more of. So for instance, with this practice drill, I've always said one of the most important things with putting is starting the ball on line. If you can't start the ball on line, there's no point even thinking about green reading or pace, because you're never going to be consistent enough to have to focus on that. You need to focus on your start line first. So this is one of the drills that I like to start off with. And so now with this intention practice, what I'm trying to do is set goals for myself, and once I've achieved that, be done with it. So not be like, I want to practice starting online for 1 hour, but rather I be like, I want to get 30 in a row. Once I get 30 in a row, I can move on to the next thing. So I'm still setting intentions and goals during my practice, but I'm not setting it within a time frame of like, okay, today I'm going to practice for 8 hours, so I'm going to do 2 hours of chipping and blah 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 blah. It's more of specific goals that I want to achieve, and once I achieve that goals, you know, some days might take 10 minutes, some days might take 2 hours. So it just really depends. Like we said just now too, golf, it depends day by day. So if you are practicing well that day, do what you need to do and call it a day. You don't have to over practice, because like I said just now, things that are not a problem can end up becoming a problem if you practice when you're too tired or you're just practicing without intention. Alright, so for the next part of my practice, I'm going to be working on my tempo a little bit. So one of the things that I tend to do is I take a pretty slow backstroke, so when I come forward I tend to jab it a little bit. So to work on my tempo, what I use is a metronome. There's this app on the iPhone called Tempo. I don't know if you guys can see that, which is what I use. And I set it to 75. You can set it to whatever you want, and I just play it. I don't know if you guys can hear that. So obviously if there's other people around, you might want to wear headphones, but yeah, I just play it and then I follow the tempo for my putting. I set up this rail here because I'm not really going to be focusing on making the putt. It's more focusing on the tempo of my putting stroke. So yeah, it's just kind of like mindless tempo practice. So because like I said, the purpose of the tempo drill is not to make the putt but to work on your tempo, it's harder to set something like a goal. So for that you can set something like a time limit, like maybe 10 minutes of doing that, or you can also do it periodically throughout your practice, like maybe do another drill and then go work on your tempo for a little bit. So it really depends on how much you need to work on your tempo, but that's just something small and easy to do to work on your tempo. So I've worked on my putting enough. I feel like for today I feel good. So next I'm going to do a little up and down challenge, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can stand from one spot and chip to different holes or just move around. I'm going to set myself to do 18 up and downs, and then I'll call this drill done. There's also many ways that you can make that drill harder or easier. You can make it consecutively, so getting as many up and downs as you can consecutively. Maybe choose a number, maybe start with like 9. Don't start with 18 because it might take you forever. Other ways to make this drill more interesting is, for instance, only allowing yourself to use one club once. So for instance, since I chipped with a 58-degree wedge for the first shot, I will not be able to use the 58 anymore. You can basically cater this drill to whatever you need. You can make it as easy or as difficult as you want. One of the reasons why I really like doing this drill is because unlike doing something such as chipping to a radius or trying to get, 5 balls inside a certain radius when you're chipping, doing an up and down drill is a much better portrayal of what we experience on the golf course. Even if you don't hit a great chip shot, you can still make the putt and still walk away and keep progressing with your drill. So I think that, like I said, you can cater this to whatever your skill level is or whatever you need to work on, but this is a great drill to add to your practice if you don't already do this. The next drill, which I think will be the final drill for my practice today, is more performance or goal based. So what this means is basically I usually try to do this after my skills practice, because then you can try to implement what you did during the skills practice into this practice. So as you will be able to see, I set up just 4 footers around the hole. I put 8 tees. Again, this drill can be as easy or as difficult as you want it to be. If you're not as good of a putter or you're just starting out, what you can do is just try to make 8 in a row or even 4 in a row. Start with 4 tees, and then or you can just not even do it in a row. Just make 4 putts, and then eventually you can try to make it in a row. So you can make it as difficult or as easy as you want. I usually start with about 4 feet and I go all the way to about 6 feet, which 6 feet usually takes a couple of tries. So this drill can literally take like 30 minutes or 2 hours. So you can cater it to your skill level and whatever you need to work on. If you feel like you need to work on 5 footers more, you can also just focus on making 8 5-footers in a row, or as I said, just make 8 5-footers and then work on making it in a row. So yeah, just cater it to your skill level and whatever you need to work on. So I forgot to do an outro, so I'm just going to do one right now. So yeah, I think what I'm trying to say, I hope it's clear, is that it's not that I'm saying practice less. I'm saying some days you might need to practice less. You just need to really listen to your body, because just practicing for the sake of practicing is not really going to do anything for you. And this is one of the things that I realized, playing in the US. During my time there, obviously I didn't have a place to stay, so sometimes I would have to stay with people, which meant that I didn't really always have full control of my schedule or where I could go or be at certain times. Sometimes I wouldn't have a car, sometimes I'm relying on other people, so I can't really be like, hey, can you send me here? So yeah, I think having to be a little bit more lenient with my schedule and not being so type A, I would say, about my whole practice thing, just letting it go with the flow, seeing what I can do each day to get better. I think it's more important than, like I just said, practicing for the sake of practicing. So like I said, I'm not saying to practice less. I mean, today, right now it's 5:30. I came to the golf course at 7 a.m. So it's not like I practiced less today, but I feel more accomplished because I achieved the little goals that I set to achieve rather than just practicing for a certain duration of time. So yeah, like they say, it's always easy to say like quality over quantity, but I think quantity is more important. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Hope you guys found this video helpful. Maybe you guys saw some tips or something that you could do or implement in your practice as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So thanks for watching today's video, and stay tuned for more Golf with Jen.